Hello everyone, and welcome to the recap of all things track of the day for May of 2026. Whether it be the authors of said tracks, the styles of them, cup of the day winners, world record holders, or many of the other various stats, I will have them all here for you today. Now, as usual, the first chapter we will look at here today is the authors themselves, because without them, we would not have the tracks in the first place. So, for the month of May, there were 37 different authors, with 6 of those 37 having multiple tracks featured throughout the month, with those being Aloof, Artroy, Finian, Glory, Taco, and XJ. May would also give us 5 first-time authors, which is the fewest of the year so far, and those first-time authors include the previously mentioned author, Aloof, as well as Detrix, Chem, Phineas, and Seven. So, congratulations to all who had a track chosen this month, but what styles of tracks were they actually making? The month of May would feature the second most amount of unique styles showcased in a month this year, with 17 different styles in total. Being featured the most for the second time this year, but for the first time having the outright lead, were dirt tracks, which were chosen 5 times. Appearing 4 times and finally being dethroned, we have mixed tracks, which appeared 4 times. Grass would show up 3 times, followed by Full Speed, NASCAR, RPG, Speed Tech, and Tech, which were all featured twice. This means there will be 9 tracks of other various styles, including some unique ones not seen yet this year, such as a mixed car track, as well as a wet wood and bobsleigh track. Now, no matter the style, what would be the preferred length of these tracks? Going strictly by author times, there was a difference of just over 21 seconds between the longest and shortest tracks in May, with the longest coming on the 14th, with Bodis's track Ghost of Perdition having an author time of 54.2 seconds. As for the shortest track in May, that would come on the 24th, with Detrix's track Snakebite and its time of 32.939 seconds. Now for May as a whole, the average author time for the month was 45.866 seconds, and that will also continue to raise the average AT time for the year from 45.26 seconds up to 45.385 seconds. But as usual, the author times don't always show the whole picture, but this month that will not be the case, as the longest world record time of 53.307 seconds would still be on Ghost of Perdition, and the shortest time of 31.948 seconds would also be on Snakebite. Nonetheless, short or long, how difficult would it be to achieve these author medals? On average, May would end up being one of the tougher months so far for author medal difficulty, with about 8% of the players achieving it on any given track, but as usual, there will still be a few outliers. Starting with the toughest AT this month, that would come on May 2nd with Twixie's and Jitski's dirt track Aurelios, which at its day's end only 30 players had achieved its AT, equating to 0.37% of its players. Now, moving over to the easier side of things, the most forgiving author medal this month came on May 4th with Ibo's tech track Summer 2020 24 Blue Bay, which had just over 2,600 players achieving its AT for a rate of 29.55%. Now, with all of this said, the authors, the styles, the ATs, how well were these tracks actually received by the community? The month of May would fare very well compared to the previous months, with 20 of the 31 tracks having a positive score, the highest rated of which was on Laku's RPG track Vanilla Springs, which received a score of 1.4. This equates to a high plus and is 0.1 score from a plus rating. This score of 1.4 will also tie it for the highest rated track of the year, with Prof 10's track from January named First Horizon. For the other 19 positive scoring tracks, 11 of them also received a plus rating, and 8 of them resulted in neutrals. Then we have another 1 track that had a score of 0, meaning there were 10 tracks that had negative scores. For these negative scores, the lowest would come on the track made by Ibo, that being Summer 2020 24 Blue Bay, which received a score of -2. That equates to a minus and is -0.5 from a triple minus. As for the other 9 negative scores, 2 of them also resulted in minus ratings, 4 of them were minuses, and 3 resulted in neutral ratings. Finally, the average track score for May will continue in the positive direction from last month with a score of 0.145, which is the highest scoring month of the year so far, though overall will still result in a neutral rating. So with that said, did these higher rated tracks actually result in more players playing? Starting with the track of the days, May would see about 7,960 players per track on average, with the most number of players driving on Mondays, which average a player count of 8,335. The day with the lowest player count by far was Sundays, which averaged over 800 players, less than the second worst day, with an average of 7,031. As for the individual track of the days, the most played track was on the 29th, with the track Bouncy Castle by Danger Ray having 9,143 players at its day's end. The lowest player count on a track this month came on the 17th with the Wetwood and Bobsleigh track Hideous by Schwupp de Wupp, with its total of 5,574. Now, with the track of the day average of 7,960 in mind, we see that roughly 24% of those who played there will also participate in the Cup of the Days, with the average Cup of the Day qualifying player count sitting at 1,896 per Cup. Breaking this down even further, for Cup of the Days, the most popular day of the week were Mondays, which had an average of 2,094 qualified players per Cup, and the least popular days were Saturdays, which averaged 1,663. With that said, the actual participation for these days will show a bit of a different story, with Saturdays having roughly 81% of its qualified players actually joining their respective cup, and the day retaining the least were Sundays, which had a participation rate of roughly 69%, which is over 6% worse than any other day. Moving on to the individual days, the most popular one by qualified player counts came on the 11th with Zeiss and Phineas's track Firewood, which had 2,133 players. However, its participation rate of roughly 79% would rank it 9th best for the month, and the track from May 8th, Lost in Thought by Numberplay, would have the highest participation rate at just over 82%. The lowest player counts by qualified players came on the 16th with Aluf's track Ambrosia, with a total of 1,520 players, but its participation rate of over 79% was good enough for 7th best. The lowest participation rate for May would come on the 10th with Ari's track Winternbruck, which retained just over 65% of its players from qualifier, which is the lowest rate of the last 2 months. So May would see some lows for its participation in its Cup of the Days, but can the same be said for who was actually winning them? The total of unique Cup of the Day winners in May will tie April for the most with a total of 22, and at the top of those, there was one player who outdid everyone, and that someone, yet again, was Grenati, who was able to win 6 Cup of the Days. These 6 wins are still down from his own 10-win domination from January, and will tie Barbos for the second most wins in a month this year. May would also have 4 other players who would each win 2 cups apiece, including Chamo, Elkan, Giuliano, and Link. Now, May for the second straight month did not have a single player having any back-to-back wins, but will have 3 first-time winners, of which were Flippings, Rowie, and Sebekek. So, congratulations to all the first-time winners and fast learners this month, but who would come away as the top time attack hunter? The month of May would see a total of 24 unique world record holders, and will also see the end of Propanoia's 4-month domination at the top of the list, as Hobbit came away as May's best with a total of 3 world records. Behind Hobbits, we have plenty of others with 2 world records, including Matt Lightning, Maui, Propanoia, Quinn, and Uten Gluten. Finally, going back to Hobbit, they would also be the only one to have a world record streak in May, which ended just after back-to-back days. But with that, we will conclude the Track of the Day recap for May of 2026. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to give it a like and subscribe, and I hope to see you all here next time with June's recap.